Congressman Peters, you mentioned in your remarks about Moody's decision last week to change its outlook on the U.S. debt to negative. There are actually 3 credit rating agencies, and it looks like Moody's is getting ready perhaps to join. As you recall, back in 2011, Standard & Poor's downgraded the U.S. debt from AAA to AA, and then earlier this year, Fitch did the same thing. So you now have, the 3 credit rating agencies saying that, they're concerned about the ability of the U.S. to manage its debt, and that implies to the financial markets that there's a greater risk there. And, historically, risk is associated with higher interest rates. When you have a $30 trillion national debt, every 1 percentage point interest rate increase is $300 billion a year in extra interest costs. So, you're talking about a huge burden going forward if interest rates continue to rise. What is your sense? I mean, are we at a turning point? I mean, we saw, ultra low interest rates over the last decade and a half after the financial crisis and the pandemic. The Fed was able to keep interest rates very low. But we're now seeing, a couple of weeks ago, the 10-year bond was at 5%. I mean, if interest rates remain high, do you think that will be a catalyst to convince Congress that we actually, need to begin to address the debt problem?
I hope so. I mean, I don't know what's going to break it, Steve. I mean, just a year ago, we had people espousing modern monetary theory, this notion we could just print as much money as we wanted because, forget history, interest rates will never go up again. And now it's kind of a splash of cold water. There's a couple things going on that I think should concern us. One is, I think revenues are down 9%, even though the economy is strong. Something's wrong with the tax collection. We're supposed to be pulling out of it when the economy's strong, and we're not. And, you see these downgrades. I think it's important. But I would just say that Don is right, that we have to do this, I think, through a commission, a bipartisan way, get this conversation going. Everyone has the instinct we have to do something. But I can't, it's hard to overstate how scared people are of the fringe and of Twitter. And so it's really hard for members of Congress to go out and say what Don just said, right? Publicly. He just said, you're gonna have to lower the retirement age, you're gonna have to raise the cap. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that, well, as he said, will get $32 million of ads run against him. There's got to be a safe space for that. And so I think that there's an instinct across the Congress that we have to do something about this. Most people agree. I just suggest that it would be helpful if people could push back on those outside forces and say, look, Congress, let's get this into a commission as soon as possible, because we're really facing a crisis down the line. I think all the evidence is that way. So I hope it does push us at least into that. I'd love to see it push us into an actual problem solving, but I think that's a little bit of a bridge too far, and that right now in this point in congressional history, that the commission that Huizenga and I have proposed and that these guys have supported is the right way to go.